and sophisticated cyber attacks. While the world watches, it's election season. But behind the familiar hum of campaign speeches, a new breed of warfare is taking place in cyberspace. This is the world of hacktivism, where digital phantoms influence, expose, and disrupt. Hacktivism operates in a world of whispers, leaks, and hidden servers. Groups like Anonymous, with their iconic Guy Fawkes masks, have become synonymous with hacktivism. They target governments, corporations, and individuals, often leaving a trail of exposed secrets and digital chaos. Their tactics blur the lines between vigilantism and cybercrime. The rise of hacktivism has coincided with an explosion of social media, platforms that have become breeding grounds for disinformation. The 2016 US presidential election was a watershed moment, with Russian hackers allegedly interfering to sway the outcome. Hacktivism, a term coined in the late 20th century, blends technology and activism. Early hackers, driven by curiosity, saw technology as a tool for empowerment and disruption. As the internet grew, hackers began using their skills for social and political ends, exposing corruption and amplifying marginalized voices. Hacktivists are driven by diverse motivations, from social justice to anti-establishment sentiments. Their methods range from website defacements to sophisticated data breaches. Some use ransomware and malware to further their agenda. As technology evolves, so do the tools and tactics of hacktivists. The 2016 US presidential election became a crucible for a new era of political warfare. Allegations of Russian interference sent shockwaves through the American political establishment. The 2016 election was a stark reminder that the battleground had shifted to the virtual realm. The most brazen act of alleged Russian interference was the hack targeting the Democratic National Committee. Hackers stole thousands of emails and documents, which were leaked online through WikiLeaks. The leaks painted an unflattering portrait of internal strife within the Democratic Party. The DNC hack eroded public trust and deepened political divisions. The 2016 US election exposed the vulnerability of democratic institutions to digital interference. Hacktivism poses both challenges and opportunities for democracy. It can undermine elections and erode public trust, but also hold the powerful accountable. Democracies must harness technology's power while safeguarding against its potential for abuse. Social media has created echo chambers where beliefs are amplified and dissent is silenced. Hacktivists exploit these vulnerabilities, shaping public discourse and influencing perceptions. Social media platforms often lack the editorial standards and fact-checking mechanisms of traditional media. This environment allows false or misleading information to spread rapidly. The digital age has ushered in an era of information overload, making it difficult to distinguish fact from fiction. Hacktivists weaponize information using fake news and bots to manipulate public opinion. Propaganda uses selective truths and emotional appeals to influence public opinion. The lines between legitimate discourse, biased reporting, and propaganda are often blurry. Algorithms shape our online experiences, determining what content we see and how we perceive the world. Hacktivists manipulate these algorithms to their advantage, reinforcing biases and promoting specific agendas. Algorithms can influence not just the information we consume, but also the choices we make. Hacktivists exploit these invisible influencers to promote their own agendas. The 2020 US presidential election unfolded under the shadow of 2016, with a collective determination to fortify digital defenses. Governments, tech companies, and civil society organizations strengthened cybersecurity and combated disinformation. The US government ramped up its cybersecurity efforts, tracking foreign actors and countering disinformation. Law enforcement agencies bolstered their defenses against cyber attacks, shoring up critical infrastructure and election systems. The 2020 election became a high-stakes game of cat and mouse between hackers and defenders. As cybersecurity measures improved, hackers adapted their tactics. Defenders developed sophisticated tools to detect and block malicious activity. Attackers employed a range of tactics, from spreading disinformation to launching denial-of-service attacks. The ghost in the machine, lingering doubts and the spectre of interference. Despite these efforts, a palpable sense of unease lingered throughout the 2020 election cycle. The ghost of 2016, the spectre of foreign interference and digital manipulation, continued to haunt the American psyche. The digital battleground, by its very nature, was shrouded in secrecy, making it difficult to assess the true extent of the threats or gauge the effectiveness of the defenses. The line between legitimate political discourse and foreign interference remained blurry. Social media platforms, while taking steps to combat disinformation and election meddling, struggled to strike a balance between protecting free speech and preventing the spread of harmful content. The algorithms that powered these platforms, often opaque and complex, continued to shape public discourse in ways that were not fully understood, raising concerns about potential biases and unintended consequences. The 2020 election, while largely considered free and fair, did not erase the doubts or dispel the anxieties that had taken root in 2016. The threat of foreign interference, once a distant rumble, had become a constant presence, a reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions in an increasingly interconnected and contested digital world. Digital extortion, holding data hostage in the name of disruption. The digital battleground is not just a space for political maneuvering, it's also a breeding ground for opportunistic crime. As elections have become increasingly reliant on technology, a new breed of threat has emerged: ransomware. This insidious form of cyber attack, often motivated by pure financial gain, has the potential to cripple critical infrastructure, disrupt essential services, and sow chaos in the very heart of democracy. Ransomware attacks typically involve malicious software that encrypts data on a victim's computer system, rendering it inaccessible. The attackers then demand a ransom, often in the form of cryptocurrency, in exchange for the decryption key. Hospitals, schools, businesses, and even government agencies have fallen victim to these attacks, their operations paralyzed until the ransom is paid or their data painstakingly restored from backups. While many ransomware attacks are motivated by pure greed, the potential for disruption has not gone unnoticed by hacktivist groups. For those seeking to make a political statement, to sow chaos, or to undermine trust in institutions, ransomware offers a potent tool. By targeting critical infrastructure such as election systems, voter registration databases, or even media outlets, hacktivists can disrupt the electoral process, spread fear and uncertainty, and potentially influence the outcome of elections. Collateral damage. When cybercrime threatens the foundations of democracy, the threat of ransomware to elections is not merely theoretical. In recent years, there have been numerous instances of ransomware attacks targeting local governments, often during election seasons. While these attacks have not yet resulted in widespread disruption or manipulation of election results, they serve as a stark warning of the potential consequences. In 2019, for example, a ransomware attack crippled the computer systems of several cities in Texas, disrupting government services, including voter registration databases. The attack, attributed to a cybercriminal group seeking financial gain, highlighted the vulnerability of election infrastructure to even relatively unsophisticated cyber attacks. While the motives behind most ransomware attacks are criminal rather than political, the potential for collateral damage to democratic institutions is undeniable. Even attacks aimed solely at financial gain can have unintended consequences, eroding public trust in government, disrupting essential services, and creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty that can undermine the integrity of elections. As cybercriminals become more sophisticated and their tactics more brazen, the threat of ransomware to democracy will only grow more acute. Digital Robin Hoods or cyber terrorists, the moral ambiguity of hacktivism. The rise of hacktivism has ignited a fierce debate about the ethics of digital dissent. Are hacktivists modern-day Robin Hoods using their skills to right wrongs and hold the powerful accountable? Or are they cyber terrorists, engaging in digital vigilantism that undermines the rule of law? The answer is far from simple. Proponents argue it's a legitimate form of protest, exposing corruption and amplifying marginalized voices. They point to instances where hacktivists have revealed human rights abuses and held governments accountable. The price of dissent, balancing transparency with the rule of law. Critics argue that hacktivism, even with good intentions, can lead to dangerous consequences. Actions like hacking and data theft undermine the rule of law and create fear. Hacktivists, though motivated by noble ideals, lack accountability and can act on flawed information. This debate will intensify as technology evolves, blurring the lines between physical and digital worlds. The unending cyber war, a perpetual struggle for control in the digital age. The digital battleground is not a place of truce, it is a realm of perpetual struggle, an ever-evolving landscape where disruption and defense engage in a relentless tug of war. Hacktivists probe for weaknesses, seeking to exploit vulnerabilities and disrupt the status quo. On the other side stand the guardians of democracy, governments, tech companies, and cybersecurity experts. They erect digital fortresses and develop sophisticated tools to detect and deflect malicious activity. But the battle is never truly won, only fought to a temporary stalemate. Guardians of democracy safeguarding the future of free and fair elections in a hyper-connected world. The future of democracy hinges on our ability to safeguard the integrity of our elections. This requires addressing technical challenges and the social dimensions of disinformation. Strengthening cybersecurity defenses is paramount. Governments and tech companies must invest in securing election infrastructure. Collaboration between the public and private sectors is essential, but technology alone is not enough. We must address the root causes of disinformation and erosion of trust. Promoting media literacy and critical thinking is crucial. Addressing social and economic inequalities is also necessary. The battle for democracy will be fought in the hearts and minds of citizens. By fostering civic engagement and critical thinking, we can safeguard our elections for generations to come.